Amazing. You look like you're waiting at a doctor's surgery or something, or a bus maybe, waiting for. But yeah, I will endeavour to try and cover some of the deepest themes we've had there. I think we've got consciousness, reality, perspectives, our nervous systems, healing. So I think I'm trying to think about where I'm going to start with all of those, because they are some of the deepest and most interesting and exciting themes we can have. So to kick off, I'd be quite interested just to see the different journeys into learning about breathwork. So if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourselves, obviously we've seen you in the film, but just what initially brought you to breathwork as a, I suppose, modality or as an opportunity to learn. We'll start from this end.
Thank you. I'm Brigitte Martin Powell. I live in Devon. And what brought me to, I don't think I've ever was asked this question. I used to be working, I'm Swiss, French speaking, from Switzerland. And I used to be working for the government and be a statistician and an economist. But my mind, I was really not well in my mind. I was having an eating disorder for more than a decade when nobody talked about it. And I was very, very unhappy. And suddenly breathwork came my way, but I never expected to make it my profession. But I could see that breathwork, I did a lot of therapy, like with a psychiatrist, and I did a lot of body work, and I went to a meditation center. And then I discovered with rebirthing, it tackles the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual all in one. And it's kind of so much faster and kinder as well, and all arounder. So, and suddenly my circumstance changes, and I lived in Venezuela, and I managed to find a fantastic trainer at the bottom of my street, and that was it. I changed profession. So, and I don't regret. That was, yeah, that's how it started. Thank you.
Briefly, for me, it's been a healing journey. So, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease about 14 years ago, which was a blessing as well, because that's how I met my wife. So from that day on, it's been a healing journey. So I trained as a yoga teacher, and then moved into breathwork as well, fairly recently, to see whether there's an answer. And it's been a pretty incredible journey so far. So I guess it's also exploration as well. I love I hate the word spiritual, but there is an element to it. Just delving into the parts of us that we don't normally go into on a daily basis. So, yeah, that's why I've moved into the breathwork.
Hi everyone, I'm Kerry. I live just outside Bath, Somerset Way. I came to breathwork through my aunt, my dad's sister. She lives in Orlando in Florida, and she's been a breathworker, seeing clients for like 45 years. So I've been learning. She's been my mentor and teacher for a long time. And I did my first session when I was 19. And that experience was pretty profound. I had an out-of-body experience, and I think once you've had one of those, you can't ever really come back fully to this reality without having a whole different lens in which you see the world. And so it changed a lot of the ways that I was seeing myself. I was had been in a really dark place for a long time as a teenager, pretty suicidal, not making many friends. I was known as the ice queen at school. And so, and as I said in the film, when I came to train in rebirthing, I realised through my multiple experiences of going back into the womb that all of these imprints and patterns and beliefs that I had about myself were from my entry into the world and my time in the womb. So it's pretty powerful and deep work, but it's also, as Brigitte's explained in the film, really gentle and really loving approach to exploring ourselves. So that's me.
I've never been asked this question before, so I was just sitting here thinking about it. Oh, how did I get into it? And so when I was 21, almost there anyhow, I just happened upon a talk by Sandra Ray. She's one of the original breath workers, and she was talking about India. Babaji, he showed the sort of ashram in the movie, so she was sharing about that. And I came into the end of her talk, it was in Glastonbury, and but it was just so, there was something about her energy, something like, whoa. And I never forgot it, I always kind of was looking for her since. And decades later, I was organising Bath Positive Living Group, so I knew who was coming and what was around. And she was coming to Glastonbury, so I was like, oh my God. So I must have been 50 by then, almost. And I was there. And so she then did breath work, and well, I didn't really stop from that point. But interestingly, by default, my mum, she was in that community in Sweden. So she took me along to, we had a module in Hawaii for a week. And it's like, yeah, so this world was quite deep and quite intense from the beginning, whether I wanted it or not, I think. But what's made me stay in breath work was how it just reached that inner, the amber, you know, the diamond. It reached, it woke, it recognised, because I was quite, I think, natural depressive, and to see that inner shiningness and richness, that's probably what kept me going. And slowly over the years, because I started with AIR 2012, and I was one of the students who never went away. And so slowly I've been turned inside out, so my kind of inner amber has started to colour my life. And whereas like before life was, you know, quite, now it's like just the outside is amber. But I would say my kind of gorgeous life where I have now has come from finding it within. And so, like, why I don't leave it, I just want to give it more and more and more, is because it's so empowering for everybody who does it. You know, it's like, I want to rebirth you, you will rebirth yourself. We're just here as facilitators. And that is something really awesome.
Thanks very much. I'm quite enjoying the juxtaposition between the singing outside and the deep, profound knowledge that's being shared here as well. So thank you for that. I think one of the themes that I found really interesting hearing you talk now, and also from watching the films, around the kind of compassion and the kind of the rest that seems to come from connecting with yourself, finding your own kind of strength and power from within. We're in a time when there are lots and lots of challenges, you know, increasingly so, and I'm interested around the kind of timing of some of these things, to look at how important do we feel it is now compared to at different points throughout the journey of AIR, and why it's so relevant as things currently stand in the world right now. So anyone wants to take that one? Maybe Brigitte, would you like to take that one?
Let's see.
Oh la la. Yes, that's a good one, thank you. Yes, because there is so much turmoil, so much indescribable violence and impossible facts in the world, and I believe we as each person need to stay centered, quiet, at peace ourselves, and this work is helping us being at peace with our past, with our own self, but also the people around us. And I think it's very important in the middle of this turmoil to stay at a lighthouse of peacefulness and centeredness and hope and trust. And my other contribution to keeping this hope and trust is not to watch the news, for example. So, yes. And the breath, being in the moment of every breath and tasting the deliciousness of every breath is kind of linking us with our precious inner beauty as opposed to what's happening there. And that's the truth, in the inner beauty. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a perfect answer. Thank you. I think that again is the real magic of finding that connection to something that's so deep. I'm really excited about doing the breath work in the next kind of 20 minutes, half an hour. So I think that's the thing that I have done breath work, but not this type of breath work. And I think it's really interesting to see how we can connect with ourselves and open those things up. And I was really interested around nature seemed to factor quite a lot in the film as well, around obviously being in Dartmoor and then also in France. How does that kind of feature in the work that you do? Because obviously it sounds like you use the water in those ways, but actually the idea of place as well seems really relevant as well. Anyone wants to take that one?
I never know what to say when I hear these things, and then I'll make something up. Okay, so we are nature, you know, and the further away from ourselves, our inner nature, the more out of balance we are, you know, and our emotions, everything, it just changes on the inside all the time, our storminess on the inside. And so we forget, you know, we forget who we are. But when we have a reference outside of ourselves, like nature and the elements, they are our teacher. They are our mirror. They, you know, what more do we need? And so when we breathe and drop into ourselves, we usually have enough spaciousness to then receive from nature, from our teacher, a true teacher. Does that answer the question?
Perfectly. Thank you very much. I feel like a toddler. When I was a child, I used to have a ghetto blast I'd walk around my house with, and I think I feel like this now. So I'm going to invest on my Christmas list maybe a wireless microphone. So apologies if I fall over myself. Thank you. Yeah, that was really profound, and I love the fact that we are having these conversations on a Thursday evening in Bournemouth, which I think they are incredible themes, and they're quite surreal experience, to be honest, with some of the other things that we might attend. And other things, thinking around the idea of the future of breathwork, and obviously either your own work or as you see the kind of industry, or not industry, I suppose the philosophy and the ideas behind it. Are there any kind of things that you're excited about or conscious or nervous about, either side of that? I don't know if you'd like to take that one. I'll come along with my ghetto blaster.
So yeah, I'm really excited about the future of breathwork, especially so in 2018, Carolina, who's here somewhere, and I conjured up this idea of creating an annual festival celebrating all different kinds of breathwork, because even though it wasn't so well known in this country at the time, especially, I mean, obviously the breathwork's been around in many forms for thousands of years in different cultures, but in this country, yeah, we have lots of pranayama, we have different yogic practices, but the kind of more altered states of consciousness, which is the work that we do, was not really as well known. And also, you know, Wim Hof, I'm sure who's been in an ice bath here? Hands up. Yeah, exactly. So his work has turned a lot of people onto this notion that we're breathing, oh my God, and actually we can control our breath, and we can learn how it can be supportive for us in all different times of our lives. And so we started in 2018 this festival, and it was like a smorgasbord of different styles of breathwork, so shamanic breathwork and Buteyko and all these different elements and different practices. And what we wanted to create was a community of different practitioners who could come together and learn from each other and support each other. And the growth that's in this country that's come from that has been amazing. And then we have people on the BBC talking about it, we have in magazines, and so I'm really excited. I mean, you can now be at the school gates and talk to mums and they've heard about breath work. It's like it's touching everyone because we all breathe, and even if it supports you for part of your journey in some way, whether it's through a health condition that you have, whether it's through anxiety, whether it's the deeper therapeutic work that we do, whatever way, letting people know that they're breathing and to be aware of that is really simple and very powerful. So I'm excited.
That sounds amazing. I was wondering, how do we find the details, of the event that you talked about? So people wanted to...
festivaloflife.co.uk.
Festivaloflife.co.uk. Okay, there we go. Reference code. No. As I say, we'll get a fee there. No, I'm joking. I'm wondering, Patrick, because obviously you were in the film very loosely at the end, so you've been through this process, and you filmed, obviously, the film. What is next for you, as well, in terms of your filming kind of adventures? So what might be coming up for you next?
Thank you. So really a special project. I'm going to do some editing, not filming. A lady called Mama Arlene, and she. The point of this film is to highlight the fact that no matter what age you are, you can do something good in the world. And she set up an orphanage in Rwanda after the genocide at the age of 74, and she's now 96. And she moved actually out to this space in Rwanda. So I'm working with a guy, it's called the Shining Light Project. It's not religious, but I'm working with him to try and change the world through video. He's got lots of crazy ideas, and this is just one of them which we want to push out there. So kind of excited about that. And then hopefully with a deeper breathwork documentary, that would be incredible. Yeah, just to really, really delve much deeper into it, different forms of breathwork. I don't know too many, obviously yogic breathwork I've done, but that would be really interesting to see. And also, our specialists here who know a lot about water. So I've interacted with water, even with Simon on the surfboard, but going deeper into the element of water and how this is having a profound impact on society, especially in Bournemouth.
Thanks very much. So obviously we're here together as a community, which is incredible, and we have the honour and privilege of having a facilitated and guided breathe together. How can people go about doing this potentially on their own if they are looking to start this as a practice in their own time? How would they go about beginning that process? Who wants to take that one?
It's really good to start perhaps in a guided situation, so either one-to-one, but if you are kind of living far away from that possibility, then there's a lot online nowadays. I think Zoom was COVID was really helpful because Zoom became a big thing, didn't it? So for instance, our school, AIR, we have weekly free group breathworks. So what I would recommend anyone to do is to come along to a few of those so you kind of get the feeling of what it's like to breathe, and then you can of course do it on your own. I mean, if you are witnessed by somebody and then that's going to amplify the experience, but still, it's just breathing and going into your comfort consciousness. So I would do it when you can with a group, but then I would, of course, if you wake up in the night, what would stop you doing a breath work there and processing and going deeper? Generally, it's a safe thing to do. As long as you do what we're going to share with you tonight, which is just a soft in and out. You're not going to be hyperventilating or any breath holds or anything like that. So I would say, get some experience and then see what it's like just doing it on your own as well. Does that answer the question? Is there any other questions around that?
Or just general questions?
Or any general questions? I don't want to let the mic go now. Yeah.
But it feels like a good time, because I think we are going to open up to a bit of a Q&A to everybody in the audience. So if you have any questions immediately, then please raise your hand. If not, I can ask another question. It gives you a moment just to think, come up with some amazing thing to ask all of us. But if there's anything else. Unfortunately, I can't reach my roving mic doesn't work over there, so you might have to shout.
I work in the world of sustainability and trying to reduce our impacts on the environment, on air, water and land. And I wondered whether this work has changed your relationship with water, with air, and how you live and your sort of sense of responsibility in that world.
Who'd like to take that one?
I think we all will. We'll all go.
Yeah,
all right.
you ready? I'll pass it along. You've been put on the spot. I'll start the other end.
It's fascinating. I mean, I haven't been on a sunbed in Charmant still. I've just come back from Sri Lanka. Very privileged to do that. And holy shit, I mean, it's such a spiritual country. The air quality is horrendous in the cities. The water is now looking worse than Bali. I had an ear infection when I was there. And yet when I'm here, I look at the rivers and I'm like, oh God, look at the rivers, they're in a terrible state. You can't visibly see it sometimes. The air, we live near Cemetery Junction. I often think, God, I'm inhaling all this air from Cemetery Junction from the cars. So it puts all of that into perspective, definitely. But for me, it's a real driver to further that understanding of how we can help create change and educate other people, especially the Sri Lankans, this precious environment. And then coming back to the breath work, I think obviously the deeper you move into these processes, the more you value how precious we are and how precious this place is, as cheesy as that sounds. Agreed?
Yeah.
For me, it's about loving ourselves. I think once we remember how to love ourselves, we'll love the planet around us and appreciate ourselves, we'll appreciate nature and what we have, and that's infectious. And my relationship with air and water's changed since doing this work. I now sing to the water, I pray to her, I praise her, I thank her, I do ceremonies with her, and she supports the work that we do and takes people into very deep places, learning that she holds memory, that she can really support unwinding within the body, within the fascia, and so I have a whole different perspective and idea about particularly those two elements of our environment. So that's the way that I can do my bit, because otherwise if we think about the whole picture, it becomes overwhelming and too much. But we all have a small part to play, and then that's when things change.
So when I first started in group breathworks, I used to take people out into the parks, even when it's cold and rainy and so on, and just have them lay on the ground and breathe. And to have a relationship with nature, I think it makes you really value it, because then you go, oh, no, actually this is really important. So I think that simple thing alone, just being in nature and breathing, whether it's laying on the beach, laying in the water, whatever, creating that relationship. I think the more we live in this kind of life we live, the material life, man-made one, we just shut off, don't we? It's like, oh no, I need lots of clothes on because I'm cold, and it's like you don't feel the air around you, and it's unnatural. We need to feel. So I think, yeah, it's important.
Would you like to add anything? Or is that covered?
No. Yeah, it's interesting because it's a question I'm wondering. Basically, I'm very privileged where I live. It's very natural and beautiful, and I'm safe. I'm lucky. I'm enjoying being lucky, and I can see. I'm glad we answered.
Thank you very much. It's really brought something up for me actually, because I'm building on your question, because my journey through from moving into sustainable business, like sort of consultancy and support, actually through doing my own journey of healing and breath work and connecting more deeply with nature, I actually shifted more and more into the work that we are talking about here, because there is that rub between when we talk about protecting nature as being outside of nature, it's very different from seeing it as we are nature. And that's why Kate and I run events at 4 Acre Farm, because when you are with soil, when you are connected to the land, it's very difficult not to care deeply. I think that's the remembering that I think we're talking about here, which is really powerful, but that is the rub that we're seeing in modern business, which is sometimes performative rather than deep connection, which can be the most profound, but also quite hard work. So yeah, it's really quite an incredible thing to be here. Any other questions from anybody? Oh, yes.
So I'm very new to this concept, not really. But I was just wondering how different breathwork was to meditation. What are the differences, and do you make any distinctions? Is it why do you do it? Why do you call it something separate? Because it seems to me that it's got a lot of elements of meditation. Why draw the distinction? And yeah, I just wondered, because I think you all are very deep in this concept, and you've obviously experienced a lot of workshops and done a lot of practice. But for me, just knowing about the different practices that help you regulate yourself, connect better with nature, how is this different, and why this and not meditation, or is it also for meditation?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. A way that I could describe that would be to maybe see different strands of breath work. So we have kind of breath work for well-being, and that might be Bateko. If you have asthma, there's different types of breath work to support wellness and well-being, or maybe you don't sleep so well and there's a breath work that can support you with that. And so these are kind of the day-to-day breathwork styles and techniques that support just our well-being. And then you have another strand that's breath optimization. So that would be where we're being taught to optimize the way we breathe in order to achieve something. So if you're a trained singer, you learn about the breath. That's the first thing you learn about. And athletes also learn about the breath, because they are training themselves to kind of be optimizing in their professions. And then you have another strand that is the kind of more therapeutic techniques that can take you into a deeper conscious states, and that might be conscious connected breath work, which is the style that we do. It might be a shamanic breath work, it might be so yoga, I think, kind of spans between well-being, and then there's also a spiritual side, so it kind of spans all three, maybe. But hopefully that's kind of more helpful into seeing the different styles and where they support us in different ways. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and I could have connected
goodness, that's like 100 questions. So that's good.
Just your view on is there, like, every day, so obviously we all need to learn about breath and how it can heal us and transform our lives, but is there anything at day-to-day breathing that people should know about, that you already know about, in terms of how to optimize your day-to-day breathing?
Yeah, slowing your breath down. Over time, we've got quicker and quicker with breaths per minute, just with the technology and the stress and the environment that we're living in. We've got quicker and quicker, and actually, if you slow the breath down, that's when we're telling our body that everything is well. And we're telling our nervous system that actually everything's okay. So we can send signals to our body just through our breath. We can kind of let ourselves know. So through this work, I think how it's helped me is as I move through my day, it's like people say, oh, have you got what practice do you do every morning? I'm like, I don't do practice every morning. And they're like, oh, you don't do morning practice? I'm like, no, my practice is all throughout the day. And so when the kids are kicking off about, I've made the wrong packed lunch or something, I'm like, I immediately notice I'm breathing and use my breath, and it becomes automatic now to help me regulate myself. And I notice that, I notice my breath much more throughout the day, and it's kind of giving me an indication of how I am and how to support myself. So it becomes part of the day-to-day. And I find that really helpful. But also there is, we don't have much time to go into it, but mouth breathing as opposed to nose breathing. We've got a nose, it's got one job. And so we're meant to breathe through our nose if we can. And I think that, our whole kind of history and all of our experiences affect our breath. From the minute we're at school, we're asked to sit down all day, that's impacting how we breathe. When we're wearing tight clothes, that's impacting how we breathe. And that's from a very young age. 4 and 5-year-olds are being asked to sit down all day, and their breath starts coming into their chest and becomes quicker and more rapid. It's quite clear why there's lots of breathing problems happening in the way that we've chosen to live. So I can't really go into that.
We could go all day with that question.
Yeah, 5 modules.
Yeah, 5 modules.
Just we were connected to meditation there, and when you do the breath, so the breath is like it takes you into a deeper part of you, it links you in, and it starts amplifying your feelings or energies, whatever you're kind of as a human, what you can relate to. It could be pain even. So the breath is an amplifier, and then what we do in rebirthing, we encourage our client and ourselves to go deeper within that. So it's all about meditation. And when we work together with somebody, it's like we meditate together. And it becomes that amplified meditative space, which kind of gives it its potency. So you heard Doug in the film go, there's the two kind of pillars, the thoughts behind what we do in rebirthing is the conscious connected circle of breath. Because if you think about it, when you are anticipating something, you hold your breath, don't you? So to keep the breath going, that keeps the body feeling safe. But then, if you've got the consciousness, the meditative part with that, you get the amplified effect. So meditativeness, awareness is a massive part of what we do. So there's no separation at all. It is a meditative practice, really.
Just my 2 cents, because I studied Kundalini with my wife, which was very much meditative based, so sitting in one position for God knows how long, enduring the pain, and then obviously trying to meditate your way through it. And I had some interesting experience doing that, but I think with the breath work, I remember my first breathwork session in Dartmoor, and I was like, what the hell is this rubbish? And I was lying there, and people were falling apart, And then I had a very profound experience, and that was completely unexpected. And I've tried to meditate, I've tried so many different things because I've wanted something, I guess, wanted to experience something, but I think this isn't a sales pitch, but just with the gentle breath work in comparison to any form of meditation I've done or any other form of breath work, it's just very, very gentle. It's very, very easy, and I think that there's some external effect, obviously, within your nervous system, and something clicks. It might not for everyone, but for me, it did. And then the experience was somewhat different to doing meditation.
Yeah, it's also the difference between the difference between the mind and the body. You know, there's many different ways of meditating, but you know, mindfulness is about calming the thoughts and allowing them to move through and pass through. And there's different. I don't know. I've trained quite a few people who have been, you know, Buddhist monks, or they've been in practices of meditation for decades, and when they come to breath work, it accesses something totally different. It's a different access point to the body, and allowing the body to speak. I think that might be the main difference.
Thank you. I think, also for me, just to build upon that, I had very similar things as Patrick's describing there. I think around, for me, I've got a very busy mind, and meditation is something that I find very, very difficult to access, that stillness that often people talk about, but it's the breath, like I said, the circular, conscious, connected stuff does begin to open up the ability to just be okay. I think that's probably the gentleness is what I'm so interested in experiencing shortly. So I think we have time for one more question, which I think could be you, Sal.
I was very fortunate to be around some of the people who were involved in rebirthing in the late 80s and 90s in London, and I was just wondering if the method, the rebirthing methods and practices have changed much since Leonard Orr and Sandra Ray's practices, because it's been quite a long time.
Yeah, that's really.
And internationally, do you hook up with other people?
Yeah.
No, internationally.
Yes, I was around, not in London, but in those years, and I think what is taught at AIR is the actual method and teaching from Leonard Orr, but in the way people were doing it, maybe people wanted big results, so they were making it very dramatic a lot of the time, pushing the breath to the extreme and thinking that was the thought, if I work hard, I'm going to get results. So they make people work hard, but it's not necessarily the teaching from Leonard himself. And I believe it's not. We're so good at working hard in our life, and we think that's what brings results. But if we relax and listen inside, that's where we can find ourselves and let things flower out of ourselves. Yeah. So same methods, but gently. Gentle version, especially I think air is a top for gentleness and kindness. Some other classes are still pushing. Some other class work, rebirthing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, that feels like a great time to end our panel discussion. I'd like to thank everybody for obviously listening for the great questions. I think we now will be moving into the breathing part of the evening, which will require, if that's okay with everybody, just if you could move your chairs into the other room over there. Donna's dashing across, getting ready to get that ready. And then in about 5-10 minutes time, get yourselves comfortable, we will be coming back.